Hi there, welcome to Kneppy Invest. Over the past few years, I have seen some really absurd things that investors have done on the ASX, and I thought something that happened 3 years ago would never be beaten. It was around the GameStop craze. If you remember 3 years ago, GameStop, the share price was going on a massive run because everyone had wanted to show the shorters who's the man, who's the boss. So people were buying this company, trying to get all these shorters to go broke, that stupid sort of thing. And at the same point in time, there was a company on the ASX with the exact same ticker code as GameStop. So GameStop had a ticker code GME. And at the same time, there was this junior mining exploring company with a ticker code GME on trading on the ASX. And when GameStop share price went on a run, so did this junior mining exploring company share price. It went on a run to match, maybe not completely match, GameStop. And eventually, the company received, this junior mining company on the ASX, received a price and volume query from the ASX. The ASX wanted to understand why the share price of this particular company was going on the run. And in the explanation from the company, they simply said it's because they had the exact same ticker code as GameStop, GME. So the most absurd thing about this was that there were some investors on the ASX buying this junior mining company simply because it had the same ticker code, GME, or even more absurdly, because they thought this junior mining exploring company was GameStop because it had the ticker code GME, which is really absurd to think there would be investors out there buying a company just because of the ticker code GME without even understanding that it could be a completely different company. And then we get to February the 15th, 2024, and I have found something that might rival what happened 3 years ago with GameStop, because there were some investors on the ASX willing to buy a company called Prodigy Gold, a company I've never heard of, because they believed this company had a dividend yield of 11,000%. And just thinking this company might have a dividend yield, just even thinking in the remote possibilities that this company could have a dividend yield of 11,000% and buying shares in this company because of that remote possibility is absolutely absurd. Now, to discuss why a company, no matter what universe we're living in, could never have a dividend yield of 11,000% and why this is absolutely absurd and why it rivals that GameStop scenario. So let's talk about Prodigy Gold and why would anyone believe this company had a dividend yield of 11,000%. So obviously there was some sort of communication breakdown, something like that. Because on a few platforms, and this is actually straight from CommSec, which is probably one of the most respected, trusted trading platforms on the ASX, we can actually see that CommSec is suggesting, implying that Prodigy Gold had a dividend yield of 11,000%. So I took this screenshot at the end of trading on February 15. So hopefully they've fixed it by now. So Prodigy Gold at this point in time had a share price of 0.8 cents. Yes, 0.8 cents. Share price rallied 33% on pretty good volume. I'll talk about the volume in a second. So there were some people actually buying shares in this company because of what they saw in the dividend section on CommSec. So it says here that Prodigy Gold had a most recent dividend of 88 cents, ex-div date the 4th of March 2024, pay date 19th of March. So 88 cents when the share price of the company was 0.8 cents. So that's a dividend yield of about 11,000%. So the share price is 1% of the dividend. Now, the only reason I knew about this mix up in regards to the dividend, the non-existent dividend that Prodigy Gold was going to be paying, was because of an announcement the company released. And they actually mentioned Intelligent Investor. So this is the Prodigy Gold site on Intelligent Investor. Market $14 million. Dividend 87 cents, franking 100%, Ex-dividend date, 4th of March 2024. Current share price, 0.8 cents. So again, implying a dividend yield of 11,000%. So somehow, not sure where Intelligent Investor and CommSec get the information, but there was definitely some sort of serious mix-up. But even though this was a serious mix-up, all you need to do is just think about it for a second and understand why a company with an implied dividend yield of 11,000% is absolutely absurd and why it would never happen, even in our wildest dreams. On the afternoon of 15th of February 2024, Project Gold went into a trading halt, and then they released this particular announcement after trading had finished for the day. And when I saw the title of this particular announcement, I had no idea about this Project Gold dividend mix-up. I had no idea what was happening, but I just saw the title, false information circling the market, and that intrigued me, just the title. And then the first paragraph of this particular announcement intrigued me even further. This was fascinating to me. So Project Gold has become aware of false information circling in the market consisting of statements on various trading platforms and a website such as Intelligent Investor that the company is intending to pay a dividend of 87 cents per share. The company advises the market that it has no intention of declaring or paying a dividend, and rightly so. The company has no revenue, doesn't even make a profit, anything. How can it pay a dividend? Has no money, very little cash on hand. How is it going to pay a dividend? And that this will become even more absurd when we look if they had to pay an 80-cent dividend to all their shareholders. You know how much that would amount to? Something like $1.5 billion. I'll have the math later in the video. The company is not aware of the source of this incorrect information, and that also intrigues me. Where did this incorrect information come from? Why was there this serious mix-up in and on these trading platforms and websites? Okay, so I'm going to talk about why this is an absolutely absurd situation and why this will never, ever, 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 ever happen in our wildest fantasies or wildest dreams. Because even our wildest dreams, our investing dreams, they are at least rooted in a little bit of reality. There's no reality mixed in this particular scenario where a company is trading on a dividend yield above 100%, let alone a dividend yield of 11,000%. So just assume that you came along and saw that this company was going to be giving their shareholders an 87 cents dividend in 1 month's time. But you can buy shares at 0.8 cents. So you think, wow, I can make some money here. So I'm going to buy 1 million shares at 0.8 cents, which amounts to $8,000. And then in 1 month's time, when I get that 87 cents dividend from the company, I'm going to receive $870,000 through my 1 million shares. So in 1 month's time, I'm going to turn $8,000 into $870,000 absolutely risk-free. So this would be an arbitrage situation. If this was real and the company announced they're going to give the shareholders an 87 cents dividend, the share price would instantly go from 0.8 cents to above $10, maybe even more than $10, because there is no scenario in the world where the share price would remain at 0.8 cents. And if you delve a little bit deeper into the company, you can further see how absurd this proposed dividend of 87 cents was. So let's have a look at the company's financial state. So on the bottom half of this screen, I went back to the company's most recent Appendix 5B, Section 4, which shows us the cash on hand in the company. At the end of the last quarter, this company had $2.8 million of cash. So could they fund an 87 cents dividend with $2.8 million? Well, it depends on how many shares this company has. So let's have a look at the shares on issue. 1.75 billion shares on issue, which means if they're going to give their shareholders 87 cents dividend, this company would need $1.52 billion just to pay the dividend. So right there, it just shows you how absurd this was, how absurd this scenario is. It's absolutely, I'm just mind boggled that people fell for it. And some people did fall for it. So let's have a look at some interesting comments I found on Hot Cuppa. All these comments were released before the company went into training hold and the company announced that this was false information. This dividend was not real. So the first comment, so someone did notice this. Have I missed something here? How do we end up with a dividend of 87 cents per share? And why hasn't the stock gone nuclear? So again, if this dividend was real, the share price would be at least above $10. Yet the share price hadn't risen much. The share price actually did double, went from 0.4 cents to 0.8 cents in 2 trading days, but the share price did not go nuclear. That is the first clue right there that this dividend of 87 cents is and was not real. But can anyone tell us, this is really interesting. In fact, there was 2 interesting comments here. But can anyone tell us, since they listed this dividend amount on the market, no, Prodigy Gold didn't. There was just a mistake from some source. I'm not sure who, again. If they can't pay or do not pay up, what happens? ASIC can force them to pay? No, they don't have the money. They only have $2 million of money. They don't have 1.52 billion. How do we know they don't have the money by then? Well, we know they don't have the money. They don't have the assets. They only have $2 million in cash. So how are they going to get from $2 million of cash to 1.52 billion? Yeah, there's no way. Possibly a takeover. Let's see. Let's see. It's not real. Not taking any chances. Just bought in for the punt. Don't know enough about PRX or Prodigy Gold. Let's see what happens. Good luck, holders. So someone took a punt that this might have been real, even though common sense probably should have told them that there's no way that this could be real. The chances of this being real was 0.00000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000. Well, another interesting comment. Well, the company is obliged to pay that dividend on next dividend date then. No, they're not. Not if it's their problem, not if it's their mistake. It wasn't their mistake. For some reason, ComSec and some other platforms like Intelligent Investor websites had this information then. This does not mean they're obliged to pay the dividend. In fact, even if they were obliged to pay the dividend, how are they going to fund the dividend? $1.52 billion worth payments back to the shareholders when they only had $2 million of cash. Absolutely absurd again. Just looked on ComSec and it's there. Up and coming Div X date, March, 87 cents. WFTF. Well, come on, people. Stop falling for it. Obviously, there was some sort of mix-up, some mistake on the ComSec website, other sites, other platforms. And again, some people did fall for it. And we know people fell for it because there was a comment here that someone took a punt. The other reason we know that people fell for it was just because of the increase in volume that came through in the 2 trading days leading up to this particular announcement. Now, this is a chart, daily chart for Prodigy Gold going back a couple of years. Share price has been struggling. Share price has dropped from 3.5 cents to a low of 0.3 cents about a week before this excitement in the market. And then on February the 14th, we saw the share price of this company pop up on massive volume. And when I say massive volume, we're talking about volume on a daily basis between 20 and 30 million. Now, when I say massive, I'm talking about the volume compared to what you usually see traded on a daily basis for this company. And typically you see between about 500,000 to 2 million shares traded on a daily basis for this company. And the last 2 trading days on February 14th and 15th, we saw between 20 and 30 million. So massive volume coming in. So there would be some investors out there who believed, maybe not believed, but thought maybe other people would be fooled and they could take advantage of other people's foolishness, gullibility, if you will, and they thought they'd buy some shares and then sell it for a pip or 0.2 cents higher in the future. And that could have worked for some people because the share price of Prodigy Gold actually doubled from 0.4 cents to 0.8 cents on this massive increase in volume. And unfortunately, all these investors' wildest fantasies of them becoming multi-millionaires because of this particular situation were absolutely destroyed by reality that this dividend of 87 cents was not real and they were not going to be millionaires. In fact, some of these investors would have lost some money because the share price decreased 37% when the shares in this company went back to trading on February 16th. Share price fell from 0.8 cents to 0.5 cents. So unfortunately, those who wanted to take a bit of a punt like that that Hot Cuppa poster, they probably would have lost 37% 37% of their value in one day. Because there is no scenario, there's no universe out there where a company is ever going to have a dividend yield of 11,000%. That is all I have for this video. If you have any thoughts, any questions, any comments, if you do know of a situation where a company did have a dividend yield above 100%, I'd love to hear about it, because I believe there is no scenario at all possible where a company could have a dividend yield above 100%. So I'd love to see me being wrong. I'd love to see a scenario where that is possible. Maybe there is a scenario out there. Anyway, so if you do have a scenario, leave that in the comment section of this video. Otherwise, I'm not a financial advisor. If you do need financial advice, make sure you seek out someone who is qualified and can speak to your own financial needs. That's it for this video. Have a good day. Bye.